Hey, it's Josh here. I'm the founder of MindLaunch. I'm a no bullshit meditation teacher and mindset coach. And if it looks like you've got it all together from the outside looking in, but on the inside you're silently struggling and it feels like everything's falling apart, then this is going to be for you, right? If you're ready to go from just surviving every day to fully thriving in your life, then you're in the right place. I've helped hundreds of entrepreneurs and business professionals to overcome their anxiety, to get control of their mind, their thoughts, their emotions, to go from being reactive, whether that's frustration, impatience, anger, or just anxiety and like shutting down, to being proactive, where you're actually the leader of your life, where you're feeling calm, you're feeling confident, and you're just feeling a lot more conscious or present in your day-to-day life. If that is something that you're interested in, then in this video, I'm going to break down how I can help with my MindLaunch method. I'm going to really just share who this is going to work well for and who this is not going to work well for. And I'll tell you a little bit more about my personal story as well. So let's get into it. This is really for, business professionals, entrepreneurs, and leaders who are struggling with anxiety, overthinking, or emotional reactivity. Again, like I just said, the frustration, the impatience, the anger. It's for people who have tried the traditional approach, maybe. So you've tried doctors, maybe medications, therapists, self-help books, videos, that kind of thing, but without much success. And you're actually looking for a more proactive approach. I help people who are ready to create a calm, confident, and conscious life. So a life where you really have control over your mind, your body, and your energy, right? Your thoughts, your nervous system, and your energy. That's really, really important. So this is not for people who want a quick fix or just a silver bullet. We offer a no bullshit solution, right? So I'll give you the tools, I'll give you a plan, and basically just give you the roadmap or the blueprint to follow, but it's your job to do the work. Right? So I know that I can help people who have the courage to actually transform their life. And again, I'll give you everything you need. And even in this video, you're going to see a step-by-step method that shows you exactly what you need to do. But I can't help you if you just want coddling or reassurance, if you're just looking for a quick fix or a silver bullet. It's just not going to work, right? And maybe I'm the first person who has ever told you that, right? Everyone's trying to give you a script or get you to, just do this magic thing that's going to fix everything. And I really just don't believe that that actually works, right? What I have seen work with the hundreds of people that I've worked with is, actually implementing behavioral change, changing your lifestyle, changing your habits, changing your routines, developing consistency and discipline. And I know that's not sexy for everyone, but that's what works, right? And I want to work with people who are willing to do what it takes to have success, with their mind, their body, and their spirit. So I'm just going to give you a couple of little testimonials from people that I've worked with just to prove that I actually know what I'm talking about, right? So this is a Melbourne lawyer who went from constant anxiety and self-doubt to confident, purposeful, and disciplined in 6 months. I worked with Ryan. This was actually back in 2024. He said, before working with Josh, I felt a lot of anxiety and self-doubt that really helped me back from enjoying my day-to-day and being confident to go after I wanted. And working with Josh helped me to overcome this. Now I feel confident, purposeful, and I rarely have any feelings of anxiety. If I do, I have the tools to manage it, right? Josh's support and guidance has helped me to be more disciplined, open, and self-aware. So that's great. Another one from a Sunshine Coast bricklaying business owner. So a guy local here. I live on the Sunshine Coast in Queensland. And this was actually a local guy. He went from being frustrated and angry in his relationships to calm, happy, and in control. Right. So I know Tim personally, and Tim said, Josh helped me through one of the most challenging periods of my life. For that, I'll be forever grateful. I gained the tools to help me overcome emotions that have become a problem. I'm calmer and so much happier. Can't thank Josh and the MindLaunch crew enough. Highly recommend launching your mind. And this is Kylie, who's actually a more recent client who is still working with me, but she's overcome a lot of the issues that she started with, and now she's just kind of like taking things to the next level. And I'll talk about that in a second. But yeah, this female athlete from Wagga healed her trauma and overcame debilitating anxiety and nervous system shutdown. Kylie's really interesting. I'm not going to read the whole testimonial, but she started with me with, this constant anxiety, nervous system shutdown, was struggling to do basic things like brushing her teeth and, eating meals and those kinds of things, because she had gone through this traumatic experience where her husband nearly died. So, she ended up, getting my support and getting my help. And, in the course of within, 3 to 6 months, she had changed her life completely, right? She is now back on her bike. She's a cyclist. She's crazy. She's lifting like 270 kilos on a leg press. And, she's, she's like in her 50s. So I'm not going to say exactly how old she is, but she's like in her 50s. So, she's a woman lifting 270 kilos, right? I just think that's incredible. It's absolutely amazing. It's wild, right? And so, she just stuck to the process and she had success with it, right? And she had probably one of the worst cases of anxiety that I've ever seen. She stuck to the process and she overcame the anxiety, and now she's got more peace and more purpose in her life. And now she's actually, going on to, she wants to help others, right? So she wants to actually take her journey and help others. And so she's still in the MindLaunch program because we're kind of working on more purpose and confidence and that kind of stuff now. So really, really cool story from Kylie. So I just want to share my personal story really quickly though as well. For those who don't know me, right, I started meditation back in 2010 when I was fresh out of school. I was anxious, overthinking, young teen, struggling with my mental health. I knew I had more potential in my life, but I didn't really know what, and I didn't really know who I was. One thing that I did know was that I didn't want to go on medication, right? So I started practicing meditation. And again, that was when I was 17 years old. And at that point in time, that was like 15 years ago now, I didn't tell anyone, right? I just did it for myself as my own personal practice. And I kept it as a personal practice, for most of my, teenage life and into my 20s. But even in 2018, I'd been meditating for about 8 years, but I was still struggling with drinking, right? I was still kind of, struggling with the drinking because we have addiction in my family. I grew up with my mum and dad drinking a lot, especially my dad. My dad's an alcoholic and still is an alcoholic, and I don't think he's ever going to get fixed. And it's really sad, actually. But that's kind of a bit more about my backstory, right? So I had some unresolved trauma, and I was drinking and doing drugs. That was all normal to me in my teenage years and in my early 20s. And it got me to a point where I really just hit rock bottom and felt hopeless, right? And it was not long after this photo was taken of me at a festival dressed up as a fairy, right, double parked, with, I don't even know what that is, tucked into my little tutu there. But you can obviously see I was in a bit of a mess, right? And it was not long after that where I hit rock bottom, felt completely hopeless, got really depressed. I actually, lost a relationship. I lost a job. And it was not good. And that was actually my rock bottom moment that made me decide to change. And I said, I'm going to go sober for a year. So in 2019, I went sober for a whole year, and that completely reset my life, right? And then over the next couple of years, right, I got myself into a much healthier state of mind. I kept up with my meditation, and I started to surround myself with better people. I started to share my story a little bit more. And then COVID hit, right? And there was this big problem with the rise of stress and anxiety. And I realized that I had this unique skill set with meditation. So I actually became a meditation teacher. This is about 10 years after I initially started. And to be quite honest, I never thought I would be a meditation teacher. I was always looking for my purpose, but I never thought it would be as a meditation teacher. But then around when COVID hit, it just became so clear. All these light bulbs came up, and I was like, I'm going to be a meditation teacher. It just made so much sense. And so I started teaching and coaching people on meditation routines, habits, teaching them how to regulate their nervous system, how to reprogram their mind, and just really how to, deal with their emotions a lot better, right? So that was 2021, 2022, 2023. This is when I really felt like I found my purpose in life. I got married, I became a father, but there was still this pressure to grow the business and provide for my new family, right? So I had some more struggles learning to manage, business and marriage together. I'm the sole income provider. My wife is a stay-at-home mum. We actually have another kid now. We have 2 kids now. back in 2023, I was working through this unresolved childhood trauma around like being the sole income provider. And I had a lot of triggers coming up around money and a frustration around money and never feel like we had enough and trying to make it all work. And so 2022, 2023 was still these very formative years where I had to do a lot of work to make sure that, my relationship was good and, I could show up in business with integrity. And that was that journey. Now, coming into 2025, right, I'm really confident in my purpose, right? I have a happy family. We have another kid who was just born a month ago, a little boy. I have, over 250 successful clients now. The business is, we just have a proven and tested system that just works. And I'm just really confident in it because we have so much success stories. And I feel like personally, I have mind, body, and spirit alignment, right? And you can actually see in this photo, my wife's pregnant there. So that's pretty cool. Cool. Now, let me talk about why the traditional approach fails, right? And the traditional approach fails because talking about your problems doesn't necessarily change anything. And it doesn't actually help you rewire your brain or your nervous system. You just end up having this word vomit, right? And just this constant expression of your problems, and it doesn't actually change anything, right? If anything, it actually reinforces them over and over again, right? So medication also doesn't really work because it kind of numbs the pain temporarily, but it doesn't help you learn how to manage your emotions or heal the root cause of your emotional pain, right? And then another thing that people do is they just constantly consume information online, self-help books, videos, and that can actually just keep you in analysis paralysis because you've got so much information and you just don't know what to do. Everyone's telling you to do a million different things, and all you really want is just one path that you can just stick to and work at, right? And that's what I offer people. Now, that's really, really important because people, you read all the books in the world, you can watch all the YouTube videos, all the podcasts in the world, and again, that's just information coming in. But if you don't apply it to your own life, and you don't actually embody what you're learning and follow a proven and tested path to actually make that progress, then it's not going to work. And you often will just get worse because you're constantly overanalyzing and overthinking things and feeling confused. So we don't really want that, right? What actually works, right? This is what actually works. We take a holistic approach called the MindLaunch method. And I'm going to share this with you now, what actually works, right? And what is included. So this is about building you a personalized routine so you can reduce your stress, you reduce the cortisol and the adrenaline in your body, and you learn how to regulate your nervous system, right? Now, I do this with a few different modalities, right? We've got different kinds of meditations, mindfulness, breath work, depending on the person, right? Again, it's a personalized routine. I know that some things work for some people and then other things work for other people. So that's why we build you a personalized routine, right? With some different modalities to help you to regulate your nervous system. I also teach you daily habits to change your negative belief systems and actually rewire the brain. Because you've probably heard about these things before. You've got to regulate your nervous system. You've got to rewire the brain. However, it's one thing to know what to do, and it's another thing to actually do it, right? And that happens through the implementation of these daily habits that I can teach you, right? I'm also going to give you tools to identify and heal unresolved emotional issues from the past so that you can shift from being reactive to life and constantly triggered to actually being proactive, right? And finally, I'm going to keep you accountable. You need accountability. This is just so important. Keeping you accountability so you can consistently work on building your new, calm, confident, and conscious self. Now, I'm not sure if you've ever done something like this where you start something and you do it for 2 weeks and then you just fall off, right? That's why accountability is so important so that you can stick with it week after week, month after month. And I'll be totally transparent with you. After working with hundreds of clients, this is one of the most important things because we're all going to go through highs and lows in our journey. And you really need someone who can be there for you when you're going through a low and just say, let's just keep at it, right? Keep going. I know it sucks. I know it's hard right now, but just keep going. And, once you make that commitment, and you have someone there who's giving you that compassionate accountability, it makes a world of a difference, right? So that's what actually works. Now, let me go a little bit deeper into this MindLaunch method. Again, step 1 is to regulate the nervous system. And we do that by building new routines and habits to reduce the stress and anxiety fast. Okay. Step 2 is to reprogram the subconscious mind, and we do that by changing negative, disempowering belief systems into positive, empowering belief systems. So you can actually change your thoughts. You have the power to change your thoughts and to control your mind, right? And that's exactly what I teach people how to do, right? Finally, step 3 is to reset your emotional responses. So manage emotional reactivity through developing a calm, clear, and confident mind, right? One of the things that happens when you get too emotional is your brain is just flooded with this emotion, and it kind of shuts down your rational thinking mind. So this is why it's so important that you have a calm, clear, and confident mind, right? And that is the MindLaunch method. This is something that I've used with hundreds of people, right? I think, these are all the Google reviews that I've got, right? Just tons and tons of 5-star reviews because it's just such an epic program. It actually works. Everyone's recommending it, right? Again, it's no bullshit. I'm not trying to blow smoke up your ass right now, but this is just what works. And you can see for yourself, there's, lots and lots of proof that it actually works. It's the same system that I've used for every one of these people. Cool. So here's the truth. You don't actually need more information, right? You need transformation. And if you are ready for that, then book a 15-minute quick chat with me below. This 15-minute quick chat is really just a first step, right? It's not a sales call. I'm not going to be pressuring you into anything. But if you feel like I will be able to help you, then the first thing that we can do is we can book a 15-minute quick chat. We have a quick chat. We get to know each other a little bit better. And, I can give you some more clarity on, what are your goals? What are the challenges that are stopping you from achieving those goals? And then if it feels like we're going to be a good fit to work together, we can go and organize the next step and, talk about working more closely together. But again, this is just a really casual, no pressure, 15-minute quick chat. So if you're ready to finally put an end to the constant loop of anxiety, this is your moment. If you're really serious about this, then, what I would really highly suggest is you make a commitment and you take this opportunity and run with it, right? Because, if you do, I'm confident within the next 3 to 6 months, we can get you feeling calm, confident, clear in your mind, right? And that's, that's going to have a knock-on effect in all the other areas of your life. So all you need to do is just book a quick 15-minute chat with me. There should be a button or a link just below this video, right? And if you want more info about my coaching packages and what I offer, then you can also just email me, josh@mindlaunch.com.au. Again, you can book a call, super easy. I'll just give you a buzz for the time that you select. But if you want me to email you more information, then just send me an email to josh@mindlaunch.com.au, and I'll send you details about the different coaching packages that I have available. And, we really have something to suit everyone. I've worked with people that are high-performing business owners, really successful entrepreneurs. I've worked with people who are just in, career professionals. And then I've even worked with people who are in university and, the younger generations as well. So I've got something to suit